Hey guys, welcome to Who's Liable Anyway. You might notice that we're in a little different scenery today, and the reason for that is because our agency is working from home this week. But we didn't want to dare disappoint you with missing a Who's Liable Anyway. So we thought we'd do something fun and talk about the reason why we're all quarantined this week. Just an FYI, if you need us, we're still available by phone, by email, by text at our main agency number. So we're still taking care of all of your customer service needs while we're home this week. But the reason that we're all home on this odd week is because of a thing called coronavirus, or nicknamed COVID-19. And I thought maybe we'd do a seasonal Who's Liable Anyway and discuss who's liable if you transmit the coronavirus to another person. And then, of course, it's a deadly disease. In some cases, if that person dies, who's liable if that happens? So, if we get some live comments or anything, my cameraman is going to let me know so that I can answer your questions live, but I'll be happy to answer them after the live is over. But the closest thing that we can reference to coronavirus that actually has proven cases and has produced some case law is that of AIDS. AIDS is, I'm sure you know, a potentially fatal disease and is transmitted through bodily fluids. Coronavirus is more of a respiratory issue, but there is a lot of case law about AIDS. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Coronavirus hasn't been around really long enough to establish case law and examples of when someone is proven guilty, proven liable for transmitting it, whereas AIDS has been around since the 80s and insurance has played in a few times. So we'll discuss AIDS as kind of our template for what coronavirus may follow someday if this hangs on for a long time. Hopefully not. So when it comes down to it, the AIDS epidemic that came out in the 80s and the 90s was broken down to intentionality. Some people were transmitting AIDS to others and did not realize that they were doing so. Those people were given lighter sentences or no sentence at all if it was an accidental transmission of that disease. And I believe that coronavirus will follow that. If, however, someone was willfully transmitting AIDS intentionally, they were charged with manslaughter and with, in some cases, murder in the first degree if it was serious and intentional, and the person died from an AIDS-related illness. So it kind of has broken down to state by state, but that's the general consensus. That is, if someone intentionally transmits a disease, then they can be charged with a felony. If someone has unintentionally transmitted a disease, then they can be charged with misdemeanor. Whereas, like, for instance, failure to disclose that you had AIDS would give you charge of a misdemeanor. So I saw a YouTube video this week. I don't know if you guys caught it, but it was of a gentleman, using the term loosely, who was actually walking around a grocery store taking a selfie video with his cell phone saying, "Yeah, I just got a positive test for coronavirus," and he was shopping. It angered a lot of people, including me, and what he basically did from an insurance standpoint, from a liability standpoint, is he gave everyone, in a future court documented case, because the internet never forgets, video proof that he was knowingly transmitting coronavirus. And therefore, if someone contracted coronavirus and had a health consequence, they could legitimately sue him and win for his willful transmission of coronavirus. So, how does that break down into our world as insurance agents? Well, I'm glad you didn't ask. Everyone who has either a homeowner's insurance policy or a renter's insurance policy, that policy carries liability with it. So, for instance, we're in my house. We'll talk about my homeowners. I have $300,000 in liability insurance coverage if I unintentionally injure someone physically, mentally, etc. That can play out in a number of different scenarios, but applying it to this one, if someone willfully sues me because I have unintentionally harmed them, then my homeowner's insurance would actually pay a claim to them to reimburse them for the incident. Now, however, if I willfully and intentionally commit a criminal act, like I rob a bank or I go out and potentially on purpose infect someone with coronavirus, I don't have it, by the way, then my homeowner's insurance would deny that claim, because you can't willfully and intentionally commit a crime and then expect your home or your renter's insurance liability portion to go and defend you in court. It's for those accidental issues, accidental incidents. So that's basically it in a nutshell, what I wanted to talk about with you guys today. Stay home and stay safe for sure. And feel free to ask us any questions on this fun thread that you'd like to, and we'll be glad to answer them. You guys have a great afternoon. Have a great rest of your quarantine. And we'll see you next month for the next Who's Liable Anyway, and hopefully we'll be back in the office by then. Bye, guys.